Hello, and welcome back to the Pave the Way podcast, a joint initiative with Raahgiri Foundation and the National Institute of Urban Affairs, where I, your host, Akash Basu, speak with mobility experts and people with interesting ideas around the globe on all kinds of issues and ideas surrounding sustainable mobility and transport planning. On the podcast today, we are joined by an expert on sustainable urban transport from Bogota, Colombia, Dario Hidalgo. Dario, formerly of WRI Ross Center for Sustainable Cities, has over 25 years of experience as a transport expert, consultant, and government official. He is currently the professor of transport and logistics at the Universidad Javeriana in Bogota, Colombia. For those who don't know, our Raahgiri Day is actually modeled after what is known as Cyclovia in Colombia. Uh, Dario grew up participating in Cyclovia and has provided Raahgiri with endless support in our mission to make Raahgiri a staple just like it. He has even participated in several Raahgiri days. Today, I have the pleasure to speak with, and listeners will have the pleasure of hearing from Dario on the value of CarFree Days, how we can reimagine our public transport systems, why a Vision Zero program can be so beneficial, and much more. We are so grateful to have you on here today, Dario. How are you?
Thank you so much for this great invitation. I miss traveling to India. I have not been there for a while, and I used to go very often when I was part of the World Resources Institute and when we created the program in India some years ago. Now, and I did have the opportunity to provide information regarding Ciclovia Bogotá and also participating in some of the Raahgiri events, not only in Gurgaon where it started, but also in Delhi and in other places in India with the Open Streets program where it catch up. Ciclovía in Bogotá started in 1974, so it's a very long time since it started as an initiative of several activists in the city of Bogotá, cycling activists led by Mr. Jaime Ortiz. Mr. Jaime Ortiz and his friends asked the city to close some stretches of the street so people could enjoy during Sundays the activity on the streets, given that the city, even though it has some parks and some recreational areas, it lacks of the space for people to have fun and just be there. After the initial experiments in Bogota in 1974, the city took it as a program by the city and established it a fixed event every Sunday and Saturday, and it started closing longer and longer stretches of streets in the city to the point that we now have 127 kilometers of
Wow.
open streets. Actually, are not closed streets, are open streets for people to walk, to bike, to skate, to have recreational activities. They have also some activities for the people to have activity together, like classes of Rumba and exercise and all kinds of activities around it. So it is more than 50 years. It's going to be 50 years since it started. It's 48 years old. And now it's a feature that the city really has and enjoys every Sunday and holiday. And we have plenty of holidays. Bogota, because of some Catholic tradition, has several holidays over the year. So we have Ciclovia 70 times a year. It's a lot. And I personally grew up. I was a teenager when I was a young teenager when it started, and I started going to Ciclovia every Sunday and holiday. And when I became a parent, I brought my children, and now my children are young adults. So as you are, Akash. So it has been part of my life and has been a very important feature of the city of Bogota, showing that it is possible to have the street for people and not the street for cars.
Hmm. I think you've said it well. The value of something like this, which is that it gives people a chance to reimagine their streets. It's not just for streets. I mean, it's not just for cars. Our streets are for our people too. I think the fact that there are hundreds of kilometers dedicated to it in Colombia and it's been running for so long, how do you think India can model itself a little better after Ciclovia and Colombia to achieve greater success through something like Raahgiri Day?
Well, Ciclovia was mainly started a recreational event. It was not a way to change the shape of the city or mobility in the city. It was a recreational event for the people to have fun on the street, to take their bikes. Colombia, it's a land where we have a lot of bikers that are very, very well achieved. The champion of the Tour de France is from one of the champions of the Tour de France is from Colombia, and they won several of these important cycling races in Europe. So there's a tradition for cycling and as a sport, but also as a recreational activity. We have bikes in every home. So it's part of life of many, but we need places to bike. And that was a very clever idea. Open the street for these bikers to enjoy, but not just bikers, walking, jogging, and doing other activities. So what you do in Raahgiri actually is that is not is open the street for having fun and having the opportunity to enjoy the city, be community, do many activities. It is especially for children. It's so important because children need to be out of home, need to have the opportunity to enjoy with others. And so I think that Raahgiri modeled very well and recreated for the Indian conditions. There are things that you do there that are very Indian, yoga and other activities that are very, very close to your culture and your tradition. You dance Bollywood, we dance Latin music. It's different, but at the end, is an opportunity to enjoy and have the city and see the city differently. And the impact on mobility, well, when the people realize that it's so easy to get from place A to place B in bicycle if there's a space, and Ciclovia provides that space. And then you say, why not doing it every day? But we need safe space every day. So Ciclovia is part, in a way, the construction of permanent bike lanes in the city of Bogota, which we have a very extensive network. It started way after Ciclovia. The cycling network started in the late 80s in Bogota with the construction of very little short stretches. But then in 2000, by 2000, the mayor of Bogota, Enrique Peñalosa, started a plan to build hundreds of kilometers of permanent bike lanes, we call ciclorutas, to differentiate from ciclovia. And these ciclorutas are now 540 kilometers around of permanent bike lanes to provide safe mobility for those people choosing to use the bike to get around, not just to have fun, to get around, to get to their jobs, to get to the school, to the universities. And the universities were very, very important in that, because several universities created groups inside the universities, so the students can go together and have a safe parking space and then do activities. And so this initiative by the city was joined by the initiative by young people to promote cycling, and cycling became one of the important ways of moving around in Bogota. Right now, we have around 10% of our total trips by bicycling. Most of the trips in Bogota are still in public transportation, and only 15% of the trips are in cars, and about 7% of the trips are in motorcycles. So Ciclovia started the tradition, but then was joined by other programs for sustainable mobility. And it was not just the initiative of the city, was also the support of civil society organizations that push for cycling as a way to move in the city of Bogota.
Yeah, I think it's very well put how an initiative that helps you reimagine the streets can then change mobility systems so much because of how people then interpret their public spaces and see what it could be. I think that brings us on to my next question, which is the let's suppose things like our bike systems, are the infrastructure we've set up for cyclists, our public transport systems, even our bus systems, I would say here in India, fall short of countries such as Bogota, Colombia, or even Netherlands or Denmark, where they have such good infrastructure set up for their public spaces. Where do you think India is falling short, let's say, when it comes to providing adequate, useful, and safe public transport and public spaces?
Well, it is. It is. I have to say that Bogota is in the way of becoming a very sustainable city. We have a long way to go. It's a very large city for Latin American standards. We in the metropolitan region, we are 10 million people. Many Indian cities are much larger than Bogota. You have several mega cities, but it's a big city, and a big city requires that started to be planned around the automobile and motorized mobility. The change is difficult because then you need to reshape the city, reassign space that originally was assigned for cars and buses and trucks, reassign the space for pedestrians and cycling, and provide priority to public transportation, provide bus lanes and these kind of things. And this is difficult. This is a very difficult proposition for those people that are in cars, that are the minority, but it's the people that is taking the shots, taking the decisions, and they feel because of a strong tradition of more than 100 years coming from the US and Europe that you need to create a space for cars and more space for cars and highways and expressways and flyovers, and those kind of things are the conventional wisdom on how to solve mobility. And we didn't do as many flyovers and expressways as you are doing in the main cities in India. Probably India went way too far in creating these flyovers, double highways on the second level, ring roads, and many of these things. And they felt that that was right, that was development, that was the way to go. And you find that these as India continues progressing, the income of the people continues going up. Fortunately, more people is buying cars and motorcycles, and these solutions of expressways are now totally clogged, are in big congestion. And there's people that are still saying, oh, then we need another expressway, another flyover. And actually, that doesn't solve mobility. It makes it worse. You have heard probably, and the people hearing this podcast have heard these say that like solving congestion by expanding roads is like trying to solve obesity with a bigger pants, which was said by Lewis Mumford in New York City in the 60s. It's not something new. It's something that is known for many years. And actually, what I feel that in India, this change of mind of really putting the stress on sustainable mobility and not on building highways is the way to go. India has done very well, particularly in Delhi, in creating an awesome metro network that is mass transit, very good mass transit. But mass transit in the way of metro can do a lot, but not everything. You still need the connections to mass transit. You still need the last mile connectivity. You still need a vibrant neighborhoods that have everything inside them and not having to travel long distances to get to places. So the experience of Bogota can show some examples of things that you can replicate in Indian cities, like the priority for buses. Bogota has a very extensive network of BRT with bus priority, the bike lanes that I already mentioned, a focus on pedestrians, of walking space, of creating a walking space in every road. For some years, we created roads without walking space. It's a mistake. We need to create walking space, safe walking space in every single road, because most of the people need to walk to get to the final destinations. Even if they use public transportation, they need to walk to the final destination, or even if they use a car, they need to park the car somewhere and walk to the building where they need to be. So it is important that this supply of sustainable mobility becomes the most important way of using scarce resources. Cities don't have, states don't have uh, unlimited funding, but they have scarce funding. And if they put the money into better public transportation, metro, BRT, better walking and bicycling with infrastructure, they do a lot. But it's not enough.
Mm.
You need to provide good supply of sustainable mobility modes, but you also need to create these incentives for the car and motorcycle use. You need to create paid parking, or congestion charges, or fuel charges, or other ways to make the people use less the cars and motorcycles and use more public transportation, walking and bicycling, and all of these with a more compact city development, so destinations are closer to the origins.
Mhm. I think you made a really interesting point at the end there, which is about disincentivizing vehicular transport. I actually had, I'm not sure if you know him, but I had Andy Singer, who's a cartoonist, on this
Yes,
podcast. Yes, I had him on one of our episodes of this podcast, and he was explaining
excellent.
how, European transport and mobility systems are better than the US transport system. And one of the reasons is that, the fuel prices are so much higher in Europe,
Yeah, they are.
and
Indeed.
and there is more, and more of that money is dedicated to providing better mobility options as opposed to other places such as the US and even India. To just come back to the BRT, which is the extensive bus network that Colombia has. I'd actually read an article, I think, when you had come to Gurgaon in 2017 to
Yeah.
review and give feedback towards a new bus system being launched in this city. I think that's something that isn't talked about much, the value of a comprehensive and modern city bus service, and even the electrification of bus systems and how much value there is there. So, could you just give us a little account of the value of bus systems?
Well, you need a multimodal public transportation network. In these big cities, you still need the mass transit in the form of a metro rail. Bogota is building its first metro line, probably too delayed for the needs of the city. But the city has this bus priority system and the connectivity that goes beyond the bus, the BRT. It goes also, it's a comprehensive network of integrated public transportation. The city has some cable car in the south part of the city that connects to a hilly area that is integrated to the mass transit system that has been very successful, this cable car in the hilly part of southern Bogota, and it's planning to put several lines of cable cars along with the expansion of the metro and expansion of the BRT. We are a long way to go to have a comprehensive network, but what we have has been enough to curb car use over the years. Over the last 20 years, the percent use of cars in the city of Bogota has not gone up, despite the fact that the city has become more wealthy. More wealthy means more activity, but
Mm-hmm.
not all of this activity is in cars, and not all the funding is dedicated to cars and motorcycles, the income of the families. There are some families that have a car, many of them, but the share of cars in total transportation in Bogota has not gone up so much. And one of the reasons is because of the implementation of the bus rapid transit system that provided an alternative, very effective in terms of travel time, that needs improvements in terms of quality and performance. but was a very important improvement in the mobility of Bogota and has been expanded over the years. Unfortunately, not at the pace that the city needs. The city has been kind of not keeping up with its needs. The system should have been more than 300 kilometers by now. It's 114 kilometers. There are new kilometers being built right now, along with the metro line and the regional rail that is also being built. These are part of a comprehensive system, but you need the local buses. You need buses to get to the final destination. So you need this integrated network, and the best way now to provide this supply is with zero tailpipe emission buses, electric buses that are zero tailpipe emissions and improve the quality of the air quality and also provide an opportunity to reduce greenhouse gas emissions that are so harmful for our planet. Bogota currently, April 2022, is the city that has the largest electric fleet, bus electric fleet outside China. China is is an outlier. Cities in China like Shenzhen and many others have totally electrified their bus fleets. Bogota is in the way of doing that and now has more than 1,000 e-buses running in the streets of our city. And that required commitment, funding, support from government, and also support from the private sector, the total chain of providers of buses, operators of buses, and contractors of the operation that make that possible in the city of Bogota.
Just sorry, will you just give me 1 second? I'm just something at the door. Sorry about that. Yes. Yes.
So we were talking. We're talking about bus electrification, the importance of having an electric fleet that is possible right now, was not possible 10 years ago. The technology has progressed a lot, and now we have the supply of e-buses. But it's not only having an e-bus, it's having an e-bus that runs frequently and that has some priority and that is not stuck in traffic. If this awesome machine is stuck in traffic, full of 40 or 60 people inside, and they don't get to their destination, well, there's no use. So we need not just the awesome machine, the electric bus, we need frequent buses, and we need bus priority.
Yeah, I think one of the more common themes of, let's say, Bogota being able to achieve all of this was initiative. You know, there has to be initiative taken by local bodies, by the government, by even the citizenry to ensure to have these things possible, because they are possible. It is a plausible option to set up much better mobility systems, but it's often that we don't see the initiative, or that maybe too many of our resources or infrastructure are dedicated to the parties that have the most influence on the systems, which is vehicular transport in this case. We'll come back to that. One of the things I wanted to address is you have also been very vocal on Vision Zero. That was run in Bogota, I think, in 2017. Is that correct?
Yeah. Actually.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, well, Vision Zero is an idea that is imported from Europe, particularly from Sweden, that makes a very clear statement. And the question made by Vision Zero is, how many people are we willing to have killed in our roads? You can answer that, Akash. How many?
Zero.
It's the only number that is acceptable. So we need to make everything possible in our hands to have a safe system, a system that at the end nobody is killed because of transportation, and the humans are in the middle of it, and we humans, we make errors, we make mistakes. It's part of being a human, making mistakes, and the system should be designed and operated in such a way that allows for the human error. If you are distracted, you don't get killed. If you cross a street distracted, a car is not speeding and you are not killed because of the high speed of the car. Or the car is designed in a way that protects the people inside and the people outside, and the infrastructure conditions the way you drive and the way the motorcycles drive. So it's a whole systems approach, which has been not only in Sweden, all over Europe, and it's in the core of the decade of action of road safety that the United Nations just declared a couple of years back for this period between 2021 and 2030. So we may have at least 50% less traffic deaths in this period, with a vision of not having any death by 2050. And it is possible, it is doable. Two cities were able to make it happen. Oslo and Helsinki were able to have 0 pedestrian and bicycle deaths over a whole year. And the airline industry had a full year without deaths in commercial flights.
That's
unfortunately
amazing.
Yeah, and this is because it's a systems approach. All the parts of the system are designed and operated in a way that allow for human error and don't put the responsibility on the weakest link of the chain of road safety. And the weakest link of the chain of road safety is the people. So if you say the people, oh, let's educate the people so they cross the street where they need to cross, and there are no crossings, and there are no, and all the cars are speeding, why do you teach people to cross in a place where there's no infrastructure to safely cross the street? So it's about providing those safe crossings, providing limited speeds for the cars and buses and trucks, and creating a culture around that the system should be safe. So Bogota applied that Vision Zero. Is not the only city in Colombia. Medellin, an important city in the western part of the country, also has Vision Zero. Cali has applied the principles of Vision Zero as well. And not only cities in Colombia, there are Vision Zero network around the world, and WRI has been very, very supportive of this type of activities, have several publications, and the people working in WRI have been very, very positive in terms of helping cities adopt these principles that are general principles. They are not for Swedes. They are not for Europeans. They are for humans. And humans are part of all over the world. And Bogota was successful. Bogota reduced speeds on the main corridors to 50 kilometers an hour. Bogota provided more safe walking and bicycling spaces, and has seen a reduction of traffic deaths year by year, a consistent reduction in traffic deaths. Still, we have 500 people killed on our streets every year. It's not acceptable. It's more than 6 people per 100,000 population. And the cities that are safer in the world are below one person killed per 100,000 population. And that's where we need to aim to zero deaths in traffic. But the good thing about the Vision Zero is that it's totally connected with the previous talk about sustainable mobility, because the safest way to move around is public transportation once you are inside the buses. So if you provide a safe walking, safe bicycling, and a good quality public transportation system, you are reducing the exposure to traffic deaths. Then you need to design the streets in a way that the cars don't speed, the motorcycles don't speed up, and you provide the controls to those that insist on speeding with cameras and the police, and then you have a complete safe system approach. The safe system is complemented by a post-crash response. Once you are crashed, you are taken very fast to a healthcare facility, and the family is provided with some support. But the idea is not having deadly crashes, and that's Vision Zero.
I think it was, I think you really put Vision Zero altogether brilliantly there, which is that all traffic accidents are unnecessary. We should absolutely see zero, and the point of Vision Zero is to remove the one aspect of it which we can't control, which is human error. We actually ran Haryana Vision Zero here in Haryana as well with NASCOM Foundation. WRI India was involved as well, and for the years that it ran, we saw very positive effects. We saw less road crash deaths and other positive effects. I think the way it was defined for us was there were the 4 E's, and all are
Yes.
important to make to ensure it. So I'll just tell, and then Dario can elaborate a bit. So there's engineering, which is designing the streets to make sure that people are safe, to ensure safety of pedestrians, cyclists, and just general safety. Then there's enforcement, which is, again, it's, you have to be able to enforce the policies that you put in. You have to be, I mean, in India, one of them is, that enforcement makes people fear breaking the rules more. There's so much rule
Yep.
breaking on our roads here that the fear of enforcement can really reduce the amount of speeding and overspeeding that we see here. Then there's education, which is consistently educating people, which is hosting seminars, road safety zones, as Raahgiri did, even Raahgiri Day and Cyclovia, like
Mhm.
that is education on the matter. And finally,
Yep.
emergency care, which is improving our post-crash systems. So I think I've given a little account. Maybe you could just elaborate on these.
No, it's totally in line with Vision Zero, with the Vision Zero principles. The stress is on the engineering side, on making the streets, the design, so it conditions the behavior of all the users and provides safe space for walking and bicycling. And the enforcement aspect of it is so important. The education, I don't stress as much education, learning from the streets, because education is a way to pass the responsibility in a way. Oh, I educated you, it's you that don't behave, is your problem. No, education is more about managing the vehicles right, being a good driver, knowing the rules, and being a good driver in terms of you control your vehicle, particularly the motorcycles. Motorcycles are very deadly. Very unfortunately, more than half of the deaths of people in our streets in Colombia are in motorcycles, and motorcycling is growing really fast because it's so easy, cheap, and convenient in many ways, but it's deadly. Unfortunately, you are the body of your car. You don't have a body of the car to protect you. You are your own protection, and you are not designed to sustain a crash. It's not our design. Education is important in terms of making the people able to use the system safely, but it's more important, and I stress that out of Vision Zero from Sweden and the way we applied here in Colombia, engineering, uh, good design, making audits that show the problems in road safety and correcting them, and also having the enforcement. There is a fraction of the users, not everybody behaves wrong. There's a fraction of the users of the road that make break the rules. Is in this fraction of users, though, the ones that cause deadly crashes and injuries, and it's on them that you need to concentrate your efforts of enforcement on those risky behaviors, and the risky behavior that is associated with injury and death is speeding at 30 kilometers an hour, which is the normal speed for a local road. 85% of the people survives a crash,
Mm.
but at 50 kilometers an hour, 60 kilometers an hour, less than 15% at 50 kilometers an hour, less than 15% of the people that suffers a run over at that speed survives. So it's like falling from a sixth floor. You can
Mhm.
survive, but your likelihood of surviving is small. So you need to control the speed, and it's the most important factor, and it's associated with other other factors. If you are distracted with your telephone, or if you drink and drive, which should not be allowed, but there's people that insist on driving under the influence of alcohol. If your vehicle has an issue, sometimes not well maintained, and you are speeding, all these combined factors are the ones that cause uh, severe injury and death. So in summary, if you provide a sustainable mobility system and you design for safety and you enforce traffic rules, you are in a better position. And that's what Indian cities need to continue doing. They have done some efforts. It's not that nothing is done. Your effort in Raahgiri is very, very important, but and the state of Haryana has done some very important activities. The state of Delhi, the metropolitan region in Mumbai, in Bangalore, in many places around India, they are doing some stuff that is going in the right direction. You need to keep doing that. You need to continue providing priority to pedestrians and bicycling and public transportation and enforcing the rules.
Yeah, I think you are absolutely right. But actually, Gurgaon has just launched the Gurugram Vision Zero program that will be running soon. So I would like to believe anyways that we are moving towards the right direction. To conclude this, I'll ask a question. So I think one thing we discussed is that it takes initiative to make changes. It takes initiative from parties, from the higher ups to us as a citizenry. So I actually had a social entrepreneur, Devika Malik, on a previous episode, and she really stressed on the role of individual responsibility, like you had talked about, which is that drunk driving is banned, people still do it. Wrong side driving is banned, people still do it. Talking on the phone whilst driving is banned, but people still do it. And I guess my question is enforcement and putting in the fear of enforcement the only way to make people follow the rules? Where does the role of individual responsibility come in?
Very, very good points. There was a mayor of Bogota, a very important mayor, which is Antanas Mocus, which introduced the concepts of citizen culture in the city of Bogota. That is part of it, good successes that the city has over the years. And when you talk about citizen culture, Antanas Mocus talk about three levels. There is moral, knowing what is right and what is wrong, and doing and following your idea of right and wrong. There is legal, that if you are punished by the legal system if you do wrong, or there is also the social pressure, the opportunity of the social behaviors being punished or supported. And his idea of citizen culture was combining the three. One is really making the people understand what is right, what is wrong, and the people taking it inside. And that was supported by the social aspect and the legal aspect. But you need to combine the three. It's not that just enforcing will make it happen. If you feel it's right to drink and drive, you continue drinking and driving. But if your peers around you tell you, no, don't drive. I won't ride your vehicle if you are drunk, or I don't ride your motorcycle, and I will go with you, and I don't let you go in your motorcycle if you're drunk. This is peer pressure, it's social pressure, and it becomes unacceptable. And that is very, very successful, that the peers and the people around you create that. Antanas Mocus was very successful in creating social mechanisms for the people to punish in a way, or at least applaud or say no, thumb down to things that were wrong. And that helped. Unfortunately, it was not kept, because you still need the leadership to continue these things flowing. And now we have many wrong behaviors that we should have been out. But drinking and driving is one of these behaviors that became punished by the society and not just by the legal system. The penalties for drinking and driving in Colombia are very high, but the penalty, the social penalty is there also. You are not accepted as a drunk driver. It's not right. Now we need that to happen also with the speeding. Currently, speeding is felt like, oh, I'm a great driver. I really know how to drive because I drive fast. Actually, it's wrong.
Absolutely.
Driving fast, you can make a mistake or anything, and it's deadly. And then you are not able to tell the story. The best driver ever, Ayrton Senna, Formula One driver, crashed and died. Of course, it was sports. It was Formula One, but it happens it happens. It's easier to crash on the street than in a Formula One circuit, even though the speeds in the Formula One circuit are really, really high. The design is for keeping the sport safe. So you can be the best driver and you can still be killed because of the speed kills. So we need to create this culture that speeding is wrong. Currently, we don't have that culture. And that culture is created with the combination of the three things. If you enforce speeding, and if the society rejects speeding, and then if we take inside, it's wrong to speed.
It's extremely well put. Really.
No, it's not mine. I'm just
I'm
just taking Antanas Mocus and Enrique Peñalosa and other mayors of Bogota that have done. And you ask about leadership. Leadership is so important. These leaders of Bogota, Enrique Peñalosa, Antanas Mocus, Lucho Garzón, and now Claudia Lopez, they really, really lead the city in the right direction in terms of creating these ideas. And you need this type of leaders for the city to progress. But you need to put the pressure from the civil society in there. It is not a leader without support is not a leader. You need the support of the civil society.
The system has to work together. You need, I mean, it's a citizen, what was it called? Not a citizen first approach. It was
citizens culture. Yeah.
Citizens culture. I mean, it's a very important idea to put out there. I think combining the legal, moral, and social. And I think one thing you did put emphasis on is that social can often be the most powerful of the three, because social currency is a thing. We want to make sure that we are abiding by what society. Exactly.
We want to be, we like the idea of being, we like the applause. And we feel really ashamed when other people are around you. Tell you you're wrong. It is deep in your human being, this social aspect. So it's important to make it part of the activity. It's not just legal enforcement, and it's more difficult to get to the moral side. What is wrong and what is right, your values. It's difficult to get there, but you get there through the legal system and through the social pressure.
And I think it's important. It's an important idea to have out there. The social pressures, make sure that social pressures are a thing, because especially like you said, for speeding, it's not seen as something that's bad. You start driving and speed becomes a measure of your competence in driving, which is absolutely wrong. And it is
Formula One and other sports still
they glorify
that idea that going fast is. And there's adrenaline in going fast, and there is risk in going fast. And there is also, I don't know how much in India, but here in Latin America, is macho culture, the male domination that is also associated with these things. Women are better drivers.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not sure if that is a thing here, but I wouldn't be surprised.
It is in Colombia.
I wouldn't be surprised if it is here.
That.
Yeah. Thank you, Dario, for putting these ideas out there to me and to all listeners of the podcast. I mean, the name of this podcast is the Pave the Way. And we're looking to see and talking to different people around the world to see how we can pave the way forward better. And I think there are so many valuable lessons to be learned from the ideas that you have put out there. Really, just, yeah,
Yeah,
thank
I'm
you.
very happy to participate and provide this. There's a long way to go.
Of
I have to
course,
say
yes.
my own city has a lot of issues and problems, but very fortunately, our plans go in the right direction, and I'm very, very happy that we continue building the city that we want.
I think our city has a long way to go as well. I think you had said that it's about 500 deaths a year on on
In the
Bogota.
city of Bogota,
In the
yeah.
city of Bogota, I have to imagine that the numbers in Gurugram and even Delhi separately are much higher. But as long as we, as long as we keep the conversation alive, which is, I also think is very important, keep the pressure on the government, make sure that we put these ideas out there, which is like citizens culture, and even the idea of a vision zero, enforcement, engineering, all of this, and just continue to have conversations, we will automatically keep moving in the right direction. Thank you so much for your time.
I'm very happy to participate and look forward to the podcast and the reactions. We learn a lot from the reactions.
Thank you so much, Dario. Take care.